The old wooden house creaked every time someone walked across the floor. For 17-year-old Anna, those sounds had become a language of fear. She could tell everything from the footsteps alone. Heavy, slow steps meant trouble was coming. Quick, angry stomps meant she needed to hide. Light steps meant her mother was trying not to wake anyone up. Anna had lived in this small house outside the city for 5 years now. Her mother had married Diego when Anna was 12. Back then, her mother thought she was giving Anna a better life, a father figure, a stable home, someone to help pay the bills. But Diego brought something else into their house, something dark and scary that never left. The house itself wasn't bad. It had 3 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and a living room with windows that let in morning light. Her mother had tried to make it feel like home. She hung pictures on the walls and kept flowers on the kitchen table. But no amount of decoration could hide what really happened inside those walls. Diego worked construction when he could find jobs. Some months he worked every day. Other months he stayed home, drinking beer and getting angry about everything. When he had no work, the house felt like a prison. Anna learned to move quietly, speak softly, and stay out of his way. Her mother, Rosa, had changed completely after marrying Diego. Before, she used to laugh and sing while cooking. She would tell Anna stories about her own childhood and make plans for their future. Now Rosa moved through the house like a ghost. She spoke in whispers and always seemed nervous. The hitting started slowly. First, Diego would just grab Anna's arm too hard when she didn't listen fast enough. Then came the slaps when she talked back or made noise while he was watching TV. Rosa would tell Anna to be more careful, to not make Diego angry. "He works so hard," Rosa would say. "We need to make his life easier at home." But Anna noticed that, even when she did everything right, Diego still found reasons to be angry. If dinner was too hot, he got mad. If it was too cold, he got mad. If Anna got good grades, he said she was showing off. If she got bad grades, he said she was stupid. There was no way to win. School became Anna's escape, but even there she had to be careful. Teachers sometimes noticed bruises on her arms or asked why she seemed so tired. Anna became an expert at making up stories. "I fell off my bike. I walked into a door. I'm just clumsy." She said these lies so many times that sometimes she almost believed them herself. The other kids at school lived in a different world. They complained about normal things like too much homework or not being allowed to stay out late. Anna listened to their problems and felt like she was watching them through glass. Their biggest worry was a math test or getting grounded for a week. Her biggest worry was making it through each day without getting hurt. At home, Anna learned to read Diego's moods like weather patterns. When he came home from work sweating and dirty but whistling, it usually meant a good day. He might even joke around during dinner, or let Anna watch her favorite TV show. But when he came home silent with his jaw tight, Anna knew to disappear to her room and stay there. The worst times were when Diego had been drinking. Beer made him mean in a way that scared even Rosa. He would find fault with everything. The house was too messy. The food was terrible. Anna was too loud. Rosa was too quiet. Nothing was ever right, and everyone had to pay for his bad mood. Anna's room became her sanctuary. She kept it perfectly clean because Diego sometimes came in to inspect it. She did her homework sitting on her bed, writing carefully so she wouldn't make any mistakes that might anger him later. She had learned that any excuse was a good excuse for Diego to start yelling and hitting. Rosa worked at a local restaurant during the day. She left early in the morning before Anna got up for school and came home tired in the evening. Anna could see that her mother was trying to keep the peace, but Rosa seemed to get smaller and quieter every month. Sometimes Anna caught her mother staring out the kitchen window with tears in her eyes, but Rosa would quickly wipe them away and pretend everything was fine. The neighbors probably knew something was wrong. Houses in their neighborhood were close, together, and walls were thin. But people minded their own business. Maybe they heard yelling sometimes or saw Anna with bruises, but no one ever asked questions. Everyone just looked the other way. Anna started having trouble sleeping. She would lie awake listening to her mother and Diego talking in the next room. Sometimes they argued in angry whispers. Sometimes Rosa cried quietly. Anna learned that her mother was just as trapped as she was. Rosa had no money of her own, nowhere else to go, and she was afraid of what Diego might do if she tried to leave. As the months passed, the violence got worse. What started as slaps became punches. What started as grabbing became pushing and shoving. Anna began to understand that this wasn't going to get better on its own. Diego wasn't going to suddenly become kind. Rosa wasn't going to find the courage to leave, and Anna was getting older, which seemed to make Diego even angrier. Some nights Anna would stare at the ceiling and dream about running away. She imagined getting on a bus and going somewhere far away where no one knew her name. She pictured herself in a different life, maybe working in a coffee shop or going to college like some of her classmates planned to do. But she had no money, nowhere to go, and she was still just 17. She felt stuck, like she was trapped in a nightmare that would never end. The house that was supposed to be her home had become a place where she counted down the hours until she could leave for school, and dreaded coming back every afternoon. Anna began to realize that if she wanted a different life, she was going to have to find a way to make it happen herself. But she had no idea how, and no idea where to start. All she knew was that she couldn't live like this forever. Something had to change, even if she had to change it herself. Anna had just turned 18 2 weeks earlier. There was no birthday party, no cake, no celebration. Diego had been out of work for almost a month, and the house felt like a bomb waiting to explode. Every day brought new tension, new anger, and new reasons for Diego to take out his frustration on whoever was closest. The morning started like any other summer day. The heat was already building even though it was only 7 in the morning. Anna was in the kitchen making coffee and toast, trying to be as quiet as possible. Diego was still sleeping, and Anna wanted to keep it that way. When he slept late, it usually meant a few extra hours of peace. But her luck ran out when she reached for the coffee pot. Her elbow knocked against Diego's favorite mug, the blue one he used every morning. The mug fell to the floor and shattered into pieces. The sound echoed through the quiet house like a gunshot. Anna's heart stopped. She dropped to her knees immediately, trying to pick up the broken pieces with her bare hands. Maybe she could glue it back together. Maybe Diego wouldn't notice. Maybe she could clean it up and pretend it never happened. But she knew it was too late. The damage was done. Heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway. Diego appeared in the kitchen doorway wearing only his boxers and an old t-shirt. His hair was messy from sleep, but his eyes were wide awake and furious. He looked at the broken mug, then at Anna kneeling on the floor surrounded by pieces of blue ceramic. "What did you do?" His voice was quiet, which was somehow scarier than if he had been yelling. "I'm sorry," Anna whispered, still picking up pieces. "It was an accident. I can buy you a new one. I have some money saved from babysitting Mrs. Garcia's kids. You broke my mug." Diego stepped closer. "That was my favorite mug. My brother gave me that mug before he died." Anna's hands were shaking now. She hadn't known the mug was special. Diego had never mentioned his brother before. "I'm really sorry. I didn't know. I can—" The first hit came so fast Anna didn't see it coming. Diego's hand connected with the side of her head, sending her sprawling across the kitchen floor. The ceramic pieces scattered everywhere, some cutting her palms as she tried to break her fall. "Stupid girl," Diego shouted, all pretense of quiet, anger gone. "You can't do anything right. You're just like your worthless mother." Anna tried to get up, but Diego grabbed her by the hair and yanked her to her feet. She cried out in pain, which only made him angrier. He backhanded her across the face, and she tasted blood in her mouth. "Please stop," she begged. "I said I was sorry. It was an accident." But Diego was beyond listening. Something had snapped in him, and all the anger from weeks of unemployment, frustration, and drinking came pouring out. He hit her again, then again. Anna tried to protect her face with her arms, but Diego was bigger and stronger. Rosa appeared in the kitchen doorway in her waitress uniform, ready to leave for work. When she saw what was happening, she froze. For a moment, Anna thought her mother might help her, might finally stand up to Diego and tell him to stop. Instead, Rosa just stood there watching. When Diego finally stopped hitting Anna and turned to look at his wife, Rosa's first words weren't to ask if Anna was okay. They weren't to tell Diego he had gone too far. "Anna," Rosa said quietly, "you need to be more careful. You know how Diego gets when you break his things." Anna stared at her mother in disbelief. She was lying on the kitchen floor, bleeding from cuts on her hands and face, and her mother was blaming her for being careless. The betrayal hurt worse than any of Diego's punches. Diego stomped back to his bedroom, muttering about how no one in the house had any respect for him. Rosa hurried to the sink to get a dish towel for Anna's bleeding hands, but she wouldn't meet her daughter's eyes. "You have to learn, mija," Rosa whispered as she helped Anna clean her cuts. "Just be more careful next time. Don't give him reasons to get angry." Anna wanted to scream. She wanted to shake her mother and ask her when she had become so weak, so willing to accept this nightmare as normal life. But she was too hurt and too shocked to say anything. She just sat on the kitchen floor while Rosa cleaned her wounds and made excuses for the man who had just beaten her daughter over a broken coffee mug. After Rosa left for work, Anna stayed on the kitchen floor for a long time. Her whole body ached. Her face was swollen. Her hands were cut and bleeding. But worse than the physical pain was the realization that no one was coming to save her. Her mother had made her choice, and it wasn't Anna. Diego came back to the kitchen an hour later, acting like nothing had happened. He stepped around Anna like she was just part of the furniture, and made himself a new cup of coffee in a different mug. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask if she was okay. He just turned on the TV and acted like it was a normal morning. That's when Anna knew she had to leave. Not someday. Not when she figured out a plan. Today. Right now. If she stayed, Diego would keep hurting her and Rosa would keep letting it happen. And eventually one of these beatings might be the last one. Anna went to her room and looked around at her few possessions. She owned almost nothing of value. Some clothes, a few books, school supplies. But hidden in her sock drawer was $43 she had earned babysitting and doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. It wasn't much, but it was something. She put on her best jeans and a clean t-shirt. She packed a small backpack with a change of clothes, her toothbrush, and the money. She left everything else behind. The books, the pictures, the small stuffed animals she had owned since childhood. None of it mattered anymore. Before she left, Anna wrote a short note and left it on her bed. "I can't stay here anymore. Don't look for me. I'll be okay." She didn't know if the last part was true, but she hoped it might be. Anna walked out of the house while Diego was taking a shower. She didn't look back. She had no plan except to get as far away as possible. She didn't know where she was going or what she would do when she got there. All she knew was that anything had to be better than staying in a house where being beaten was her fault for being careless. The summer heat hit her like a wall as she started walking down the dusty road that led away from her neighborhood. She had never felt so alone in her life, but for the first time in years she also felt something else. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a better life waiting for her somewhere down that road. Anna had been walking for 6 hours under the burning summer sun. Her feet hurt, her back ached, and she had finished the small bottle of water she brought with her 2 hours ago. The road stretched endlessly ahead of her, with nothing but empty fields and the occasional farmhouse in the distance. She had tried to hitchhike, sticking her thumb out whenever a car passed by. Most drivers didn't even slow down. A few looked at her with suspicion or concern but kept driving. One truck driver had stopped and asked where she was going, but when Anna realized she didn't have a good answer, he drove away shaking his head. The truth was, Anna had no destination. She just knew she needed to get far away from Diego and the house where her mother had chosen fear over protecting her own daughter. Every step took her further from that life, but it also took her deeper into uncertainty. As the sun started to set, painting the sky orange and pink, Anna began to worry. She had nowhere to sleep tonight, no food except a granola bar she was saving for an emergency, and she was still close enough to home that Diego could find her if he decided to look. The sound of an engine made her turn around. An old pickup truck was approaching. moving slower than the other vehicles that had passed her. Anna stuck out her thumb one more time, not really expecting the truck to stop. But to her surprise, it pulled over about 20 feet ahead of her. The truck was old but well-maintained, painted a faded blue color. In the back, Anna could see bags of what looked like animal feed and some tools. The driver was a man who appeared to be in his 50s, wearing a worn baseball cap and a work shirt. He looked tired, like he had been working all day. "You okay, miss?" the man called out through his open window. His voice was gentle, not demanding or threatening like Anna had expected. Anna walked slowly toward the truck, staying a safe distance away. After years of living with Diego, she had learned to be careful around men, especially when she was alone and vulnerable. "I'm fine," she said, which was obviously not true. Her face was still swollen from the morning's beating, and she probably looked as exhausted as she felt. The man studied her face for a moment, and Anna saw his expression change. He noticed the bruises. His eyes became sad and concerned, not angry or suspicious. "My name is Luis," he said. "I own a ranch about 10 miles up the road. You look like you could use some help." Anna hesitated. Her mother had always warned her about accepting rides from strangers, but her mother had also let Diego beat her over a coffee mug, so maybe her mother's advice wasn't worth much anymore. "I don't have any money to pay you," Anna said honestly. Luis shook his head. "I'm not asking for money. I'm asking if you need help. Those bruises on your face tell me you might be running from something, and it's going to be dark soon. These roads aren't safe for walking at night." Something in his tone made Anna believe he was sincere. Maybe it was because he didn't try to convince her to get in the truck. He just offered and waited for her answer. Maybe it was because he looked tired and sad himself, like someone who understood what it meant to be hurt. "Where would you take me?" Anna asked. "To my ranch. My housekeeper can look at those cuts on your face and you can have a safe place to sleep tonight. Tomorrow, if you want to keep traveling, I'll drive you to town and you can catch a bus to wherever you're going." Anna realized she didn't have many choices. She could keep walking and hope to find somewhere safe before dark, or she could trust this stranger who seemed genuinely concerned about her welfare. Her feet made the decision for her. "Okay," she said quietly, and climbed into the passenger seat of the truck. Luis didn't ask her any questions during the drive. He didn't demand to know her name, where she came from, or why she was walking alone on a country road with bruises on her face. He just drove quietly, occasionally pointing out landmarks or mentioning something about his cattle. The ranch appeared as they came over a small hill. It was bigger than Anna had expected, with a long driveway leading to a modest house surrounded by pastures full of cattle. There were several barns and outbuildings, and everything looked well-maintained but lived in. It felt peaceful in a way that Anna's house never had. "I should tell you," Luis said as they pulled up to the house. "I live alone except for my housekeeper, Carmen. She comes during the day to cook and clean, but she goes home to her own family at night. I want you to know so you don't feel trapped here." Anna appreciated his honesty. Diego would never have thought to reassure someone that way. Carmen turned out to be a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and gentle hands. She took one look at Anna and immediately started fussing over her like a grandmother. She brought Anna to a small bathroom and helped her clean the cuts on her face and hands properly. "Who did this to you, Mija?" Carmen asked softly while she applied antiseptic to Anna's wounds. Anna had prepared herself for this question, but when it came, she found herself telling the truth instead of making up another lie. "My stepfather. He got angry about a broken coffee mug." Carmen made a soft sound of sympathy. "And your mother? She said it was my fault for being careless." The words still hurt to say. Carmen was quiet for a moment, focusing on bandaging Anna's hands. Finally, she spoke. "Some people think keeping peace is more important than protecting their children. It's not right. But fear makes people do wrong things sometimes." After Carmen finished treating her injuries, she showed Anna to a small guest bedroom. It was simple but clean, with a comfortable bed and windows that looked out over the pastures. Anna couldn't remember the last time she had been in a room that felt so calm and safe. "Luis is a good man," Carmen told her as she brought Anna some clean clothes to sleep in. He's been alone since his wife died 8 years ago. He works hard and keeps to himself, but he has a kind heart. You don't need to be afraid here. That night, Anna lay in the unfamiliar bed listening to sounds she had never heard before. Instead of traffic and neighbors arguing, she heard cattle, lowing softly in the distance and the wind moving through trees. For the first time in years, she fell asleep without listening for footsteps in the hallway or waiting for someone to start yelling. When she woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the windows and she could smell coffee and bacon cooking in the kitchen. For a moment, she forgot where she was and felt a flutter of panic. Then she remembered. She was safe. She was free. And for the first time in her life, she was in a place where being careful might actually be enough to keep her safe. Anna got dressed and went to the kitchen, where Luis was sitting at a small table reading a newspaper and Carmen was cooking breakfast. They both looked up when she entered, and Anna was surprised to see genuine smiles on their faces. "How did you sleep?" Luis asked. "Better than I have in years," Anna answered honestly. And in that moment, sitting in a stranger's kitchen eating breakfast, without fear, Anna began to believe that maybe her life could be different after all. Anna had been at the ranch for 3 weeks, and she still woke up every morning surprised to find herself in a peaceful place. The guest bedroom had become her refuge, but she spent most of her time working around the ranch, insisting on earning her keep despite Luis's protests that she was welcome to stay as long as she needed without working. Luis had turned out to be nothing like the men Anna had known in her life. He was quiet and thoughtful, speaking only when he had something meaningful to say. He never raised his voice, never made sudden movements that might startle her, and never asked questions about her past that she wasn't ready to answer. When Anna flinched the first time he reached past her to grab something from a shelf, Luis noticed immediately. After that, he always announced what he was doing before he moved. "I'm just reaching for that tool behind you," he would say, or, "I'm going to walk past you to get to the barn." These small considerations meant everything to Anna, who was still learning that not all men were dangerous. Carmen had become like the mother Anna had always wished for. She taught Anna to cook traditional Mexican dishes that filled the house with warm, comforting smells. More importantly, she listened when Anna wanted to talk and gave her space when she needed to be alone. Carmen never made Anna feel like her feelings were wrong or inconvenient. The work at the ranch was hard but satisfying. Anna helped feed the cattle every morning, learning to recognize each animal's personality and needs. She discovered she had a natural way with the horses, who seemed to sense her gentle nature and responded well to her touch. Luis noticed her talent and began teaching her more about animal care. "You've got good instincts," he told her one afternoon, as they watched Anna calm a nervous young colt. "Animals can sense when someone truly cares about them. They trust you because you respect them." Anna felt a warm glow at the compliment. At home, Diego had only pointed out her mistakes and failures. Here, Luis noticed when she did things well and took time to acknowledge her efforts. But healing wasn't a straight line. Some days Anna felt strong and hopeful about her future. Other days, the smallest thing would trigger memories of life with Diego, and she would shut down emotionally. Luis and Carmen learned to recognize these difficult days and gave her the space she needed to work through her feelings. One evening, Anna was helping Luis repair a fence when a car backfired on the road nearby. The sudden loud sound made her drop her tools and duck down, covering her head with her arms. For a moment, she was back in that kitchen with Diego's fist coming toward her face. Luis didn't say anything right away. He just sat down quietly nearby and waited for Anna's panic to pass. When she finally looked up, embarrassed by her reaction, he spoke gently. "My wife used to have nightmares for years after her father died in a car accident. Loud noises would make her jump even when she knew she was safe. Trauma leaves marks that take time to fade." Anna was grateful that he didn't treat her like she was broken or crazy. He understood that healing was a process, not a destination you reached and then never had to think about again. As the weeks passed, Anna began to venture beyond the immediate ranch area. Luis drove her to town to shop for clothes and personal items using money she insisted on earning through her work. The first few trips were overwhelming. Anna wasn't used to making choices about what she wanted or needed. At home, all decisions had been made for her, usually based on what would keep Diego happy. "What kind of shampoo do you like?" Carmen asked. During one shopping trip, Anna stared at the wall of options in confusion. "I don't know. Whatever is cheapest, I guess." "No, mija. What do you like? What smells good to you? What makes your hair feel nice?" Carmen took Anna's hand and guided her to smell different bottles until Anna found one that made her smile. These small moments of choice and preference felt revolutionary to Anna. She was learning that she was allowed to have opinions, to like some things more than others, to make decisions based on what made her happy rather than what would prevent someone else from getting angry. Luis enrolled Anna in a community college course that fall, despite her protests that she couldn't afford it. "Consider it an investment in the ranch's future," he said. "If you're going to help me run this place properly, you'll need to understand the business side of agriculture." Anna had never imagined going to college. In her old life, education beyond, high school had seemed like an impossible luxury. Now she found herself studying animal science and farm management, discovering she had a real aptitude for learning when she wasn't constantly worried about surviving the next day. Her relationship with Luis evolved slowly, built on mutual respect and shared work rather than desperation or convenience. He never pressured her for more than friendship, but Anna began to notice the way his eyes lit up when she laughed, or how he always saved the best pieces of fruit for her at breakfast. The first time Anna realized she might have feelings for Luis, beyond gratitude, she panicked. She had never experienced healthy romantic feelings before. Her only example of relationships was the toxic dynamic between her mother and Diego. She didn't know how to tell the difference between love and dependence. Carmen, wise as always, helped Anna sort through her confusion. "Love shouldn't make you afraid," she explained one afternoon as they worked in the garden. "It should make you feel stronger, not weaker. It should give you courage to be your best self, not require you to make yourself smaller." Anna thought about this advice as she watched Luis work with a sick calf, his patience and gentleness evident in every movement. She realized that being around him didn't make her feel scared or uncertain about herself. Instead, it made her feel capable and valued. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange, Luis finally spoke about his own past. He told Anna about his wife, Maria, who had died in a car accident 8 years earlier. He talked about the loneliness that had consumed him afterward, and how he had convinced himself he would never care about anyone again. "Then you showed up," he said quietly, "and reminded me that sometimes the best things in life come when you're not looking for them." Anna felt tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears. "I was so broken when I got here. I didn't think anyone could ever want to be around me." "You weren't broken," Luis said firmly. "You were hurt. There's a difference. Broken things can't be fixed, but hurt things can heal if they're given the right care." That night, Anna looked at herself in the mirror and saw something she had never seen before, a young woman with hope in her eyes. The scared, beaten-down girl who had walked away from Diego's house was still part of her, but she was no longer the only part. Anna was becoming someone new, someone who knew her own worth and wouldn't accept less than she deserved. She was finally learning that kindness wasn't weakness, that gentle strength was more powerful than violent anger, and that real love meant helping someone become their best self rather than keeping them small and afraid. For the first time in her life, Anna was excited about her future instead of just trying to survive it. 2 years had passed since Anna arrived at the ranch as a frightened teenager with nothing but the clothes on her back and $43 in her pocket. Now, at 20, she had become an essential part of the operation, managing the ranch's books, caring for the animals, and helping Luis make important decisions about the business. The transformation wasn't just professional. Anna had grown into a confident young woman who spoke her mind, made her own choices, and knew her worth. The scared girl who used to flinch at sudden movements had been replaced by someone who faced challenges head-on, with quiet strength. She and Luis had grown closer over the months, their relationship developing naturally from friendship to something deeper. He never pushed or pressured her, understanding that Anna needed to come to her own decisions about love and trust. When they finally shared their first kiss under the stars one evening after working together to deliver a difficult calf, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. But Anna's past wasn't done with her yet. One afternoon, while she was working in the ranch office updating inventory records on the computer Luis had bought for her college courses, she heard a car coming up the long driveway. Through the window, she saw a familiar beat-up sedan that made her blood run cold. Diego had found her. Anna's hand started shaking as she watched him get out of the car. He looked older, more weathered, but his expression was the same angry scowl she remembered. Behind him, her mother Rosa emerged from the passenger seat, looking nervous and apologetic. Luis was in the far pasture checking on the cattle, too far away to hear if Anna called for help. Carmen had already gone home for the day. Anna was alone, with the two people who had made her life a nightmare for so many years. Diego walked up to the front door and pounded on it with his fist. "Anna, I know you're in there. Your mother has been worried sick about you." Anna stayed in the office, her heart racing. Through the window, she could see Rosa standing behind Diego, wringing her hands. Even after 2 years, her mother looked exactly the same, small, frightened, and unwilling to stand up for herself or anyone else. "Come out here right now," Diego shouted. "You've caused enough trouble. We're taking you home where you belong." For a moment, Anna felt like that scared 17-year-old again. The old instinct to hide, to make herself small and invisible, almost overwhelmed her. But then she remembered everything she had learned over the past 2 years. She wasn't that helpless girl anymore. She had choices now, and she had people who cared about her. Anna walked to the front door and opened it, but she didn't step outside. She stood in the doorway, using the doorframe as a barrier between herself and Diego. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said clearly. Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt inside. Diego's face turned red with anger. "Don't you talk back to me, girl. After everything we did for you, this is how you repay us, running off and worrying your mother to death?" "What did you do for me?" Anna asked. "You hit me every day for 5 years. You made me afraid to speak, afraid to move, afraid to exist in my own home. What exactly should I be grateful for?" Rosa stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Anna, please. He's changed. He's been sober for 6 months now. We can be a family again." Anna looked at her mother and felt a familiar mix of love and disappointment. "Mama, you had a choice every time he hit me. You could have protected me or at least tried. Instead, you told me it was my fault for making him angry. That's not love. That's not family." "You owe us," Diego snarled, stepping closer to the door. "We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. You can't just run off and play house with some old man." Anna felt a flash of anger, but it was different from the helpless rage she used to feel. This anger was clean and justified. "I don't owe you anything. You chose to marry my mother. I didn't ask you to take care of me, and you certainly didn't do it out of love." Diego reached for Anna's arm, but she stepped back quickly and started to close the door. "Don't touch me," she said firmly, "and don't come back here. I have a restraining order I can file if you keep bothering me." It was a bluff. Anna didn't actually have a restraining order yet, but Diego hesitated. In that moment of uncertainty, Anna heard the sound of Luis's truck coming up the driveway. Luis parked his truck and got out slowly, taking in the scene. He looked at Diego and Rosa, then at Anna standing in the doorway, and immediately understood what was happening. He walked over to stand next to Anna, not touching her but making his presence known. "Is there a problem here?" Luis asked quietly. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. Diego puffed up his chest, trying to look intimidating. "This is family business. The girl belongs with us." "Anna is an adult," Luis replied evenly. "She can make her own decisions about where she wants to live and who she wants to be with. She's my daughter," Rosa said desperately. "I have rights." Anna stepped forward slightly, feeling braver with Luis beside her. "You gave up those rights when you chose him over me, Mama. When you let him hurt me and told me it was my fault. I tried to love you despite everything, but I won't let you or him control my life anymore." Diego's anger was building to the dangerous level Anna remembered. "You little..." He started toward her again, but Luis stepped between them. "That's enough," Luis said firmly. "Anna has asked you to leave. I'm asking you politely to get back in your car and drive away. If you refuse, I'll call the sheriff and have you removed for trespassing." For a moment, Anna thought Diego might try to fight Luis, but Luis was bigger, clearly in better shape, and most importantly, he wasn't drunk or out of control. Diego was a bully, and bullies usually back down when faced with someone who wouldn't be intimidated. "This isn't over," Diego muttered, but he was already backing toward his car. "She's still my family." "No," Anna said loudly enough for both of them to hear. "I'm not your family anymore. Family doesn't hurt each other the way you hurt me. Family protects and supports each other. I found my real family here." Rosa looked heartbroken, and for a moment Anna felt sorry for her, but then she remembered all the times her mother had chosen Diego's comfort over Anna's safety, and her sympathy faded. "I hope you find the courage to leave him someday, Mama," Anna said softly. "But I can't wait for you to change anymore. I have my own life now." Diego and Rosa got back in their car and drove away without another word. Anna watched until their taillights disappeared down the road, then finally allowed herself to feel the full impact of what had just happened. She started shaking, all the fear and adrenaline catching up with her at once. Luis gently guided her to the porch swing and sat down beside her, wrapping his arms around her as she cried. "I was so scared," Anna admitted. "For a minute I felt like that helpless little girl again. But you weren't," Luis said firmly. "You stood up to them. You told them the truth about what they did to you. That took incredible courage. What if they come back? Then we'll deal with it together. Tomorrow we'll go to town and file that restraining order for real. And Carmen's nephew is a lawyer. He can help us make sure you're legally protected." Anna leaned against Luis's chest, feeling safe and loved. "I meant what I said about finding my real family here." Luis kissed the top of her head. "I love you too, Anna, and I promise you'll never have to face anything alone again." 6 months later, Anna and Luis were married in a small ceremony in their backyard, surrounded by Carmen's extended family and the neighbors who had become their friends. Anna wore a simple white dress and flowers in her hair, looking radiant and genuinely happy. As they exchanged vows, Anna thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. The scared, broken girl who had walked down a dusty road with nothing but hope had found something she never expected. A love that made her stronger instead of smaller. A home where she was valued instead of tolerated. And a future full of possibilities instead of fear. The ranch flourished under their joint management. Anna's natural business sense combined with Luis's experience created a successful operation that supported not just them, but several employees and their families. They started a program to help other young people in crisis, offering temporary work and shelter to those who needed a fresh start. Anna never heard from Diego or Rosa again, though she sometimes wondered if her mother had ever found the courage to leave. She hoped so, but she had learned that she couldn't save people who weren't ready to save themselves. Instead, Anna focused on building the life she had always dreamed of but never believed possible. She finished her college degree, specializing in agricultural business and animal science. She and Luis talked about having children someday, and Anna knew that any child of theirs would grow up knowing they were loved, protected and valued for exactly who they were. Sometimes when Anna was working in the pastures or sitting on the porch in the evening, she would remember that terrifying day when she walked away from everything she had ever known. She used to think courage meant not being afraid. Now she understood that real courage meant being afraid, but doing what needed to be done anyway. The girl who had once believed she deserved nothing but pain had learned that she deserved love, respect, and happiness. And in finding those things, she had discovered that the most powerful thing she could do was help others believe they deserved them too.